Hey everybody, we're here with my friend Brent Abel from Web Tennis. Just love streaming with Brent. He's a wealth of information. He's also a fantastic tennis player. Ridiculous, I think, like 21 gold balls now in singles and doubles. Brent, is that right?
Yeah, but who's counting, Mirabon? You know, just
Who's yeah? I
you know,
mean, yeah.
and
No, that's pretty
anytime I
good.
ask someone, hey, what's your goal ball count? And they go, oh, I don't know, and I go, come on, yes, you do.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
Come
right.
on.
So I mean, Brent, you've also been selected to the 5 USA World Cup teams. Pretty amazing. 2023 ITF World Individuals Doubles winner, 75s in Mallorca with Brian Cheney. Number one USC Singles and Doubles 75s in 2023 year-end rankings. Doubles too, number one. Number three in ITF World Singles 75. So, yeah, just a lot of great stuff, Brent. I hope that you all have been checking out Brent's content at webtennis.com and also just on YouTube as well with Brent Web Tennis. So, and what's the right shot? We did some of those actually on the summit as well, but that's a really nice series and really fun and interactive. People learn a lot, and I've been seeing you do. I've been seeing you stream a lot, very consistently online, Brent. So big kudos for that as well. But yeah, great to see you. Great to have you on.
Yeah, you likewise, Mirabon. Always like hanging out with you. Appreciate the invite, and but as I've always told you, any place, anytime, I'm there for you.
Thank you, boss. Really appreciate that. So, really appreciate you've got, basically a presentation for us here. But I do want to just ask you maybe a couple questions before we launch into it. And this one's pretty broad. It's just really about the title, and generally speaking. And of course, we're gonna, Brent's gonna dive deeper into them. But in terms of developing a winning mindset, maybe you can talk about a couple of the biggest impediments to doing this. Maybe we've got a lot of these players here that they can't seem to get on the winning track, and then they start to think, wow, I really I can't seem to win. I'm not destined to win. I just lose all the time. So what are your thoughts on that?
Wow, um, might need a couple hours on that one, Mirabon. Um,
You got it.
yeah, no, look, so it's kind of a chicken and egg thing in terms of I was used to always be told, well, you got to play a lot and then you have to win to be able to build confidence. And I said, okay, but how do I get how do I get the wins if I'm not confident?
Hmm.
And so I kind of went along with, okay, well, I just got to work harder. I got to put in more physical time. I got to feel like I'm outworking everybody in terms of drilling, in terms of all that stuff. And I got pretty good. I mean, I was, I would say an A minus guy in my age group year in and year out, but never. And look, before before the end of 2022, right before 2023, I'd won 11 national USA gold balls in both singles and doubles. That was over 40 years, right? So that was a pretty darn good career right there. A lot of guys have never won one. And so, but I just sort of felt like there's something that's not quite right here in terms of this whole thing about confidence and about winning. And look, the reality is that if you're whatever your rating is, if you're playing someone who's rated quite a bit lower than you are, the chances are you're going to win that match. If not every time, you're going to win it 95% of the time. Conversely, if you're playing against someone who's rated much higher than you, you're probably going to lose that match most of the time, right? So it really gets down to how do you compete against your same exact skill level and start turning it, in theory, your exact same skill level ought to be the algorithm, the formula, whether it's NTRP or something else. It ought to be that, well, if you play this one guy 10 times, you two have the same rating label, you should win five and they should win five. So, how do you start taking those close matches and start winning 60-40? Then you start going 65-35. How do you start to change that? And I'm gonna show you guys today what I did over. I started this about 18 months ago in terms of finally kind of coming to the realization like I really don't understand the mental part of the game. I don't really understand this whole mental toughness thing. Trying to get out there and work hard physically isn't really making me go from 50-50 against a same skill level guy to 60-40. And so that's the whole presentation today. I'm going to tell you what I did, and I think that if your viewers really practice this stuff, and it's nothing out there, as you know, Maribon, as a coach, there's no quick fix. I mean, you might get epiphanies, aha moments from time to time. That's great, and that's where the improvement process starts. But if it's even if it's a little epiphany, it's the beginning of maybe 6, 8, 9, 12 months down the road before this thing really becomes part of you, as opposed to too many times I see guys go out there, they get this, oh my God, I just realized this thing. And all I'm thinking about is, okay, well, that's great, but you got 12 months before this is going to set in. And too often they get the epiphany, and the next thing you know is it worked today. They think they got it nailed. Hey, babe, you come home. Hey, babe, I really played great today. I think I got this tennis thing figured out. And tomorrow they come out and just lay an egg. So that's a little bit off topic, but yeah, I want to answer that question today. How do you start winning more of your really close matches?
Love it, Brent. Yeah, I'm really excited for it. Maybe we can just launch into presentation and go from take questions and whatnot if that works for you.
Yeah, and I hope that hope we get
Perfect.
some questions.
Yeah, well, I'm sure we will.
And I've got time. I mean, I've blocked out plenty of time for us today. So
Thanks.
yeah, the title is Developing a Winning Mindset, the 80-20 Reality. And there's two realities, Maribon, that we really got to talk about. And number one is this first one, which is the 80-20 reality. And what this means in general, and this is not the Pareto principle that says that 80% of your results come from 20% of your and did we lose Maribon there?
Let's see. No, can you see me?
Okay, there you are. Sorry.
Very good.
It's not that. It's not the Pareto. It's really 80% of the time we're on the court in a match, right? Whether it's a tournament match or a league match or a practice match, maybe it's a club facility match, whatever it is. In theory, the results are going to be made somewhat public. Maybe the practice match won't be, but 80% of the time when we're on the court is spent between points and on side changes. Only 20% of the time during the match is actually playing points. And there is guy Jim Lohr, who way back in the day kind of came up with this with this thinking here that if you manage the 80% of the match, which is not playing points, is spent between points and on side changes, if you manage that time really well, you put yourself in a better position to be able to play the 20% of the match, the points, at a higher skill level. And that means on average, and I'll get into that in just a second. So, and he this was what, early 80s or something like this. He had a 4 parts between points routine, and I looked at it and I kind of hybridized it into my own thing, which we're to get into exactly what those 4 parts are in just a second. But it really is crucial that if we're going to consistently play at the top of our skill level throughout a match, throughout that 20% of the match, we've got to really be good at managing the between points time and the side change time. And if you do that, you got a great chance of playing well throughout the match. Not a guarantee, but for me, it's absolutely made a huge difference. And the second reality that we got to get out here is the reality of your SLR, and that's your skill level range. And the skill level range is that, like, if you're a 4.0 rated player, the reason you're a 4.0 is because sometimes you can play close to a 4.5 level on some points, maybe some games, even a set, right? And then on sometimes, because you're a 4.0, which is an average between that upper end of the 4.0, but you can also find a way to play down closer to let's call it a 3.6 or 3.7. I'm just throwing this out as an example. And so what happens is too often when we don't manage the 80-20, the 80% of the match really well, is we tend to have a wider skill level range. We tend to have this deal where we go out there and we play a few points pretty well, and then the next thing you know is you can't hit the broadside of a barn for some reason. And so that's a wide skill level range. The whole thing here with this between points routine, which is I'm going to explain just in a second, is to eliminate the bottom of that skill level range. So now we start playing much more consistently at the top of our skill level, whatever that is. And when you do that, what happens is you build more confidence. You start to win more of those close matches. So you start to beat more of those guys where you're at 50-50 right now, winning percentage. Now you start to go to the 60-40 because you have a much more narrow skill level range. And that's really based on how you handle that time between points. And so this was really a big kind of, talk about an epiphany or aha moment for me. These two things combined made a huge difference for me. And once I realized the skill level range, that part of confidence is built because when you start the point, you have this confidence knowing that I'm going to be able to play this point no matter what happens within the top part of my skill level range, as opposed to starting off the point going, God dang it, I really hope the top part of my range shows up, because I've been proving to myself that I can also play down at the very bottom of my skill level range too often enough. And once you sort of have that thought, it just kind of creates a low sense of confidence to start the point. And obviously we want the difference. So let me go through. I mean, any questions so far before I get into each one of these specific 4 parts of a between points routine, Mirban?
Oh, sorry, I was on mute. But we'll just take one right now if you don't mind, Brent,
Sure.
from Jason. Awesome. How do you develop a mindset where you go into a match where you know the player is better than you and give yourself a chance to win, whether that be as a player, as a coach?
How do you develop a mindset where you go to a match where you know the player is better than you? And so I used to think this way, and that kind of kept me as one of the A- guys in my age group. And I'm going to get into this a little bit further into the presentation, but it's really self-talk. It's really self-messaging. It's what you tell yourself. If you continue to tell yourself that this guy is better than you are, then that's how you're going to play. You're either going to think, well, I got to play way above my skill level range, point in and point out to be able to compete with this guy. Or you could start thinking that if the guy's a little bit better than I am, okay, maybe I just need to extend the time in the match. Maybe I need to keep this guy out here a lot longer than normal. And that could be that you do a couple things. Number one is you count during the points, right? Rather than thinking, hey, I gotta hit a bigger first serve. Oh, missed the first serve. Now I'm throwing in a steady diet of second serve to this guy. Rather than thinking that, oh, I got to hit this return really big, because if I don't, this guy's going to do some damage. And what I do against the top guys in my age group is I just count. I mean, I might have a tactical focus of something I want to avoid. This guy over there is really good at this one thing. Okay, I'm not going to give him that. I'm going to steer clear of that thing. Now my shot choices start to become a lot more narrow. I know what I want to do with the ball, but I just start counting. I hit the serve and I go 1. Whatever comes back, I go 2. And all I'm trying to do is extend the point and put the pressure on him to have to win the point outright, as opposed to me giving this guy free points. So I think that self-talk, that this guy's better than I am, and I'm going to get into this a little bit later, of a different self-messaging, different self-talk, that I played guys who I used to think were better than I was, and I proved it. I proved it by just giving them too many free points. It's the same guy now that I am, the same opponent now that I'm playing against, but I no longer think that way about this guy. We'll get into that in just a second. But look, there's no formula. There's no guarantee against a guy who's better than you are. There's a reason that they're rated higher than you are. And so to me, a lot of it's like, let's make this guy win the match. I don't want to contribute to him winning. I don't want to think I've got to play above my skill level, point after point after point, and start making a boatload of unforced errors. I want to do the opposite. I'm not saying that you want to push, but I just have that mindset now that if I'm going to lose today, it's because he beats me, and I find when I go into that match, those matches take a lot more time than what they used to. So hope that helps.
Yeah, definitely great stuff, Brent. Appreciate it. Nice question, Jason. Yeah, feel free to go ahead, Brent.
Okay. So we went into the skill level range, and let me take you through each one of the 4 parts between points routine that I've just, like I said, I've hybridized this from the great Jim Lohr back in the day. And I have to practice this. This is not like riding a bike, right? I still have to practice this every time I'm playing points, whether it's practice, whether I'm playing a practice points, whether I'm playing a practice, even sometimes during a drill session where we've exhausted the balls, we've got to go pick up the balls for the next 20 seconds. I'm going to go through this 4 parts between points routine, because when I do, the ultimate goal of this whole managing the 80% of the match is so that when you start the next point, you've got clarity of how you want to start the next point. And that clarity seems to have a residual effect that carries over into the point itself. And when I'm not disciplined to this, sometimes, get a little sloppy for whatever reason. And then my shot choice clarity between points kind of gets foggy. And so here it is. Number 1, at the end of every point, you got to have emotional control. You might have just hit the greatest running forehand up the line hit on that court in the last 28 years. And I used to kind of give it the come on, baby, and go, yeah, this kind of thing. And my emotions would spike way up. And then the other hand is I might have just chunked the easiest open court volley, guys falling down the alley, and all I got to do is just, it's just put it over there, and you miss it, right? And so, and now you just feel like an idiot. And I used to let the world know about this, whatever. And I just found that if you can control your emotions at the end of a point where you keep them on an even keel, and I'm not saying that, you hit that great running forehand up the line, that there shouldn't be some sense of, yeah, baby, but I no longer say anything. I just keep it in. I just feel like if I get too high with that, I'm telling my brain pretty much, well, this is what we have to do every point. We have to play like this every point. And yet the next point, what do? Well, we find the bottom of our skill level range where we chunk that easy one. And so I just find if we can keep an emotional even keel, that we tend to, especially during times when, that guy over there is having a run. And there's times in matches where your opponent is they just stupidly can't miss, right? Whatever they do, and so for me, it's like during those runs an opponent's having, if I can emotionally stay on an even keel, those runs tend to be shorter than what they used to be. Because as well as I do, if a guy's having a run, he's hitting the ball great, and you're getting all hacked off over there, it just extends it. It makes the guy feel even better. And so my job is not to make the guy feel better because I've missed an easy ball and go crazy. If I miss an easy ball, I just turn around as if like, big deal, big what? Just 1 point. It's no big deal. I don't want to give that guy the benefit of getting a little bit more confident by showing any kind of emotion. So my emotional control might sound a little goofy to some people, to some players, but it works for me. And I'm not saying that this is what you have to do, but I have to be proactive with how I control my emotions at the end of a point. And the way that Jim Lohr sort of suggested it, well, come up with a word or come up with a phrase or come up with something that no matter what just happened, that you immediately say to yourself, and it helps you control your emotions. Again, if you just hit a great shot or if you just missed the easy chunker. What I do is I've already kind of pre-planned a song that I'm just going to hum to myself, or maybe I'm going to, sing to myself the hook to a song. And I've already decided what that is. I've already planned it out. I've already practiced it. I've already done it in the warm up of the match, so that at the end of every point, I'm just humming that song to myself or singing that song to myself as my way of controlling my emotions. Now, other guys find that the song doesn't work. They're better off. They've come up with a phrase, and the phrase could be anything that's super positive that helps you control your emotions. For me, that takes, that's maybe 4 or 5 seconds at the end of the point. The second thing is I want to, and the first one's mental, right? Emotional control. The second one's physical. I want to recover. So if I've just played a long point, I need to physically recover, and I need to be proactive about it. And I do it with 3 deep breaths from my core. I'm not doing it from my mouth. It's more of a nasal, in and then taking my time to exhale. And I do that 3 times. And for me, my little song is still underscoring those 3 deep breaths. So even if the guy double faults to me where I haven't exerted any physical energy, I don't want to change what I do between points. I want to keep this same routine going. And so if the guy double faults, I still go into my song. I still go number 2 into the 3 deep breaths. Number 3 is now we figure out, well, how do you want to start the next point? Right. And too often what I used to do was, well, God dang it, it's 30 all, it's 4 all in the third set. I'm serving. Come on, man. Don't screw this up. Don't throw in a double fault, whatever. Or what, you got to win this point. So what can we do to, win the point? And I found that kind of thinking just tightened me up like a snare drum. And so what has now worked better for me is, how do I start the point? So if I'm serving, I can easily say to myself, okay, well, at this moment in the match, for whatever reason, I'm going to serve to the tee, or I'm going to serve to the body, or I'm going to serve out wide. And it's never based on, well, if I serve the tee, then I'm going to win the point, because I can't stop that guy from guessing over there. Even if I just crunch a first serve down the tee, he could guess and he could be there. And if I've already decided I'm going to crunch it down the tee to win the point, here it comes back. Now all of a sudden my confidence starts to take a little dip because I didn't get the end result that I wanted. And so I no longer think about the end result. I just think about how I want to start it. And when I think about how to start the point, I tend to hit a better serve, right? Because I'm not thinking past that. If I'm returning serve, and my tactics for returning serve is, if I get a first serve, I'm typically just going right back down the middle, right at the guy, right? If it's a second serve, okay, then I may look for something he's given me up to that point in the match. I may tell myself, all right, we'll look for this kind of a second serve, and if you get what you're looking for, then let's start the return by doing, could be, let's play it up the line, let's play it at him. Maybe we'll go cross court. Maybe we'll play a drop shot as the second serve return. But it's the same thing. I want to have a tactic as to have clarity how to start the next point. And I'm just assuming that the guy's good over there. I'm assuming whatever I do, whether serving or returning, I'm assuming the guy's going to put the ball back in play. And to me, that's okay. And one of my great guys I learned a lot from, a guy named Dick Johnson from St. Louis, and he and I won the National 18, I should say the National 70 indoors doubles in 2018. And the guy never missed a return the entire match. Maybe he missed one. I don't know. But we were sitting around after winning it, and I said, man, what gives here? I mean, you didn't miss a return all day. And he just said, well, all I'm trying to do is hit a quality return to a certain spot. I assume it's coming back because those guys are good over there. That's okay. And then he said the magic words to me. And he says, and whatever comes back, you know what? We'll just take it from there. And so I think too often what happens is when we get down to what we perceive as a big point, which is It's 30 all. I'm serving. It's 4 all in the third. We tend to elevate the tension, and when we do that, we don't play with clarity. We don't play with that thing that Dick Johnson said. It's like whatever comes back, okay, we'll just take it from there, because that's kind of out of our control. We assume the guy's good. Okay, that's fine. It's coming back, and whatever he brings back, we'll just take it from there. So that's number 3. And then number 4, I always give myself a positive reminder. And the positive reminder is never, it used to be a little bit, come on, man, you got to win this point. I found that just tightened me up. As opposed to, okay, I love it. Here we go. I won the national hard courts last year in Laguna Woods in Southern California. And in the finals, playing against a guy who I'd beaten once before, but he was hurt that day. So I never really considered that a win. But on this day, my 4th part was, this is your time. This is your time. Here we go. And so that is the 4 parts that I've now disciplined to go through every time. And when I do that, I tend to play within a very narrow skill level range, which is at the very top of my skill level. And again, nothing is ever a guarantee in this game of tennis, but I tend to give myself the best possible chance to win that match against a guy who is, he and I are exact same skill level, or maybe he's a little bit better than I am. Maybe he's just a little bit, less than I am. Whatever it is, within that narrow skill level range right there is, I put myself into a better position to win the match. Now, I can do this obviously in singles. In doubles, it's a little trickier because typically after the point's over in doubles, you go straight to your partner and you guys huddle up a little bit, or you tell your guy, nice shot. But at some point, I have to still go through these 4 parts. It's a little abbreviated, but I got to make sure that if I've just, either I have or my opponent's hit not my opponent, my partner has hit a great shot. I don't want to go too crazy. I just don't want to do that. Or if one of us has missed an easy ball, especially me, I don't want to get, slump the shoulders and do this. Even if I'm not saying anything, I don't want to give our opponents over there any kind of boost at all. And if my partner is an easy ball, first thing I'm going to do is I want to show them that I've got no emotional response to that at all. It's a, hey man, no big deal. The guy might have poached, missed the easy poach. All right, that's 1 point, no big deal. So, but then I will quickly go into a few deep breaths, and the tactic to start the point, maybe we huddle up. Maybe it signals if we're serving. That one's easy. And then the 4th thing for me is always that same thing, positive reminder of, all right, here we go. I love this. So, questions?
Yeah, really great stuff, Brent. Yeah, let's see. We do have let's see this question here. Oh, first off, Mark had said Hell's Bells AC/DC, so I like that one. That's good. That's good. And then no, for like his song, And then RS said, man, that's a great tip on how to play with clarity. From now on, when I get 2 points in a row after being down love 15 or love 30, I'll be humming the Bee Gees Staying Alive. That's the first and best song that comes to mind. LOL.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah. And look, I mean, I just, you have to do it between every point. You can't cherry pick. Okay, well, now all of a sudden I need my 4 parts between points routine, because it doesn't feel authentic. It doesn't feel real. It feels kind of contrived. And so that's why for me, even if I'm in an early round in the tournament where, I've got an easy match and I'm winning whatever the score is, I'm still making sure that I'm not getting sloppy, right? I'm making sure that for the next match, I'm really preparing by going through this 4 parts between points routine. And I've been known lots of times, I'm at a tournament night before, as I go to, my head hits the pillow and I kind of visualize what I'm kind of visualizing tomorrow's match a little bit. And for me, I'm visualizing this. How am I managing the 80-20 reality, the 80% of the match that between points time?
Yeah, definitely. We just We had Larry Lauer from USTA Player Development on with us 12 our time, and he was talking about the visualization and how important that is. And I had mentioned that when I interviewed James Blake, he said that he did practice visualization before every single match. So
Love it.
found that very
Love it.
interesting.
It's
Yeah,
a
yeah,
skill. I mean, it's a skill that you got to habituate. And you have to do it for sort of two perspectives. Number one, you have as if you are visualizing you're inside your body and you're looking out. And then the other one is if you are watching yourself, you're a spectator watching yourself. And I do that a lot where as if I'm a spectator and I'm visualizing watching myself play and I've just missed. I mean, I see both sides. I see myself hitting a great shot and then just having no response. And then the opposite, missing an easy ball, having no response, and thinking to myself as a spectator, man, that guy's got his act together. Man, it just he's not going crazy out there. So
yeah, love it, love it. So I guess with these different, the 4 parts, is there one that you deem has been the most powerful for you in terms of really helping, or are they more or less kind of even for you?
yeah, they all work together. But I would say the
No.
one is number three is
Mm.
that is we've got to have we have to have shot choice clarity during the point.
Yeah.
Because if a guy hits you a forehand and this little sub menu of different shot choices drops down in front of you where I could top it up the line, I could top it back at him, I could top it back cross court, I could play a drop shot, I could underspin it here, underspin it there, I could play a high looper. I mean, there's 7 shots right there. I don't know, 8 shots right there. And if you wait until the last nanosecond to choose one, it just doesn't seem to come off as well. And to me, when you don't have shot choice clarity, you don't have confidence. You just don't. And so one of the things I'm about to get into with the 5 things that I habituated over the last 18 months that yielded going from 11 career gold balls to 21 in really 14, 15 months was
Yeah.
or were these 5 things. And I'll get into those in just a second. But when
Sure.
you've got a narrow shot choice menu or a small shot choice menu, and most of that's based on and I hear this thing all the time. Well, what should I do today? Oh, just go out there and play your game. And I'm going, well, okay, but what if my game feeds into the belly of the beast over there? Right? What if this guy wants me to play my game, which just feeds him? I mean, as if my game is a guaranteed formula against any style of play that if I play my game, I'm going to win. And I used to think that way. And, I used to be pure serve and volley till I got into my mid 60s about 10 years ago. And man, there were some guys that just went, yes, please continue to play serve and volley because it just wasn't working out as well. So I finally came to realize that it's less about playing your own game and much more getting out of your own head and putting yourself on the other side of that net and going basically 2 things. Number one, what does this guy hopes that I give him? What's his really big weapon or asset? And I don't know how many times last year I found out, hey, this guy's forehand's pretty dang good. So I'd be happy to tell the guy in the side chains, hey, Maribon, you got a hell of a forehand. By the way, you're not getting any more today. I'll tell. I mean, I don't mind. I mean, I obviously never did, but to me, I just said, okay, well now shot choice has become a lot more narrow. That's good. Right now, I don't have to think as much about when you hit me a ball of where I'm going to play my next shot. I'm just going to stay away from your forehand. Now, if your backhand is okay, doesn't mean that it's weak. It could be average, which is fine. But now I'm going to go, okay, well, the guy's pretty good backhand, not as good as a forehand. Let's see how he is with contact point. Can I raise the contact point on the backhand? Can I lower it? Can I run around some backhands, maybe get a ball where I can play a high kind of roller over over to that backhand quadrant over there and let him deal with a high bounce. Let's see how he does with that. Or can I take a backhand and just play an underspin ball that skids and stays low and plays below his comfort zone on that backhand? Let's see how he deals with that. Let's see, even if he's good at the forehand, is he so grippy on that Western forehand? Why not play some droppers under there? Let's see if he can actually change the grip on coming up. And if he can't, if he doesn't want to, fine and dandy. Go ahead. I'm going to play the dropper. I'm going to have you try to, get the thing up and down with that grip. I mean, there's so many fewer shot choices when you first of all figure out what does this guy want me to give him, and if that was, well, I'm just going to play my game. If my game was to feed into his strength, that's not very smart. That's not very smart. So I would tell you, to answer the question, number 3 for me, how to start the point. I remember once I asked Craig O'Shaughnessy, I said, Craig, what's your mindset? What are your tactics in a tiebreaker? And he says, you got to be kidding me, mate. He said, I've had 12 games, this first set, I've had 12 games and the warm-up to find out and discover and to probe what this guy's really good at. And so if I can't write a full page, 500-word essay on what this guy is really good at after 12 games, then I'm just not tactically aware of what's going on. And so for me, that was a big shift, was number 3. How do I want to start the point? And it's just not like, throwing darts at a board. Well, I think I'll serve down the tee this time. It's got to be tactically based on, what does this guy not want? So, and then I would say the other thing is that, to answer your question about which one of the 4, I just practiced it more. I just overdid it. I mean, I would practice this whole BPR thing, call it obsessive. I don't know, but I just wanted to make sure that I didn't leave money on the table, that I would go out there and either forget to do it, or that I would go out there and get sloppy and maybe do it when I thought I needed it. No, I just got obsessed with practicing it, and it's just part. It's like riding a bike for me now.
Awesome, my man. Yeah, really staying dedicated to the system and getting the great results. So awesome. Cool. Yeah, and Brent, you mentioned you had 5 was it strategies that you wanted to, yeah.
This is kind of a little bonus thing here between points, is that body language is it's a big deal. It really is a big deal. I mean, not only for what your opponent gets to see, but I think for what your brain feels as well, that if you've just missed the easiest setup in the world, if you slump, if you shake your head, if you say something, it just, to me, it becomes almost like our subconscious expects that, well, this is what we should be doing. And so I'm never going to have negative body language out there, ever. I don't care if I'm getting thumped, because there's always a chance. With the beauty of the scoring system in tennis, you can always come back. And I've been down a set in a couple of breaks in a couple of matches where I just felt like, all right, well, if nothing else, what's our tactic? Because we can't figure out anything that's working over there during the point. Why don't we at least go through the 4 parts and make sure the body language is unbelievable? And so anyway, here are the 5, and I'm just going to touch on these. I'm not going to do a deep dive on these. The 5 mindset skills habit training for a narrow skill level range. And this is what I started about 18 months ago, when I kind of came to the realization that, I just, being an A- guy in my age group, okay, that's fine. Are you really satisfied with it? And the answer was no. I think I've got more. I just felt like I'm just as good an athlete as these guys who are the A+ guys. I'm putting in probably more time than they are. What's the missing piece? And so I did some more studying. I actually hired a guy Spent a couple sessions with him, and I've got a great book recommendation. It's called The Confident Mind. It's by Dr. Nate Zinser, Z as in zebra, INSS, I believe, double SER. And he's the mental performance coach at West Point at Army. So not only is he working with the athletes, but he's working with the soldiers. And if a guy can help soldiers with mindset, he can probably do whatever he wants to do with athletes and get them going.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, he wrote this great book. I highly recommend everyone get the book, The Confident Mind. Get it on Amazon and just go through that, underline it, or do whatever you have to do with a Kindle. And I went through it a couple times, and then I got to talk to this guy.
Oh, I think we lost Brent. Let me text him really quick here, but let's see what comments we got. Mark, played today, used my BPR, communicated well with my partner, got good result. This stuff works now. Plus, you don't look like an ass. Nice. Yeah, give me 1 second. I'm just gonna text Brent, and let's see. Hey, Brent, you disconnected. Hop on with the same link. There we go. Yeah, so hopefully I'll come back soon, but let's see what else. Matt, oh no, yes. What am I going to do now? We'll figure out something. But Britt says, love book recommendations. Yeah, very good stuff. So yeah, in the meantime, maybe you can put in the chat, what was your most difficult time on the court? Maybe you had a really rough time in terms of like, you were up by a big margin and then you let a lead slip. Like I remember in college one time, it was my first college tennis match and I was playing a buddy and I was up like 6-2, 5-1. And then I remember I thought to myself, oh, this is going to be my first college tennis win. And of course, whenever you do something like that, the rest of the story, how that goes. And so I lost. And I remember actually on one of the match points I had, my friend hit a ball, I hit a good forehand and he hit a lob back and it bounced out. I saw it out, but for some reason I didn't call it. And I just decided to, try to hit a winner and then I missed it. And yeah, he came back. And the powerful thing that I remember is my coach said, you've got to focus on the process, not the results. And so whenever you're too results oriented, that's when you're going to be thinking too much about the score and then you're going to miss. And, you got to think about the process. So Brent is back. Hey, Brent.
Well,
you good?
I guess I was going through my BPR too much, somehow locked up.
It's all good. I was boring them with a story of mine, but
all right, let me get this Keynote back here real quick.
Yeah, all good, all good. Let's see what else we got. Christopher Polak. For me, a key is to focus only on one point at a time. Forget the past points. Don't think about future points, just this point. Yeah, that's a great point. No pun intended. Just staying in the present. That's where you want to be to perform at your best. So, good stuff.
Right, almost there. There we go.
Yeah, no worries. Once you get that up, then I'll share it. But yeah, so I hope you all have been enjoying so far. Mark, did you stay calm? Well, I didn't stay calm. I remember in that first match in college, I was actually quite nervous. The more points and games that my opponent was winning, the more I started even thinking about the score even more. So, but I've changed thanks to all the great lessons from coaches like Brent. So, all right, we got the PowerPoint back up, and I think we just got to forward it a bit, and then we'll be good to go. Sweet. A little review for you. Nice.
So 5 mindset skills habit training for this narrow skill level range. Number 1, we've been through the between points routine. That's part of it. You got to get really, really good at this. Number 2 is the tactical focus. And you have to become a student of this, which is, part of the between points routine. Number 3, which is, how do you want to start the next point with clarity? So tactical focus is you got to answer the question, who's doing what to whom? And that basically says, if you go watch a match eventually you get so good at being able to see what player is doing what to the other player tactically. And so to me, and I've already talked about this, Mayor Bond, it's basically two things. Let's find out what he wants. What does he want me to give him? Okay, now I've probed. Maybe you find that out with some intel before the match, right? Either a tournament match or a league match, and you've never played this guy before, and you go to someone and they say, well, yeah, the guy's got a big monster forehand, and I go, okay, well, let's probe at that in the warm-up. Let's just see how good it is. And maybe you probe for, the first couple points of the match, you find out, dang it, guy was right. It's good. So now we know what he wants. We're not going to give it to him. And then the second thing is you try to find out what is it he doesn't want. And it might be that the guy actually has a weak shot, a weak stroke. Maybe it's forehand, maybe it's a backhand. But, I've found guys who they're just one-sided. They're really good at this one thing. And this is kind of easy. You find out that they've got, let's say, a weak backhand. Okay, well, we're just going to pick at that thing all day long. And that's it. Or maybe the guy doesn't like to move up and back, right? He doesn't like to move up for drop shots. And then if he gets to it, you lob over the guy's backhand and push him back. He doesn't like that as opposed to moving side to side, right? So, and maybe he's a big hitter and he likes to have you hit shots to the corner, whether it's to the deuce corner, to the ad corner, because now he's over there moving side to side and he likes to look at the court geometrically from the corner, as opposed to, and I've got a couple of guys in my age group who are big hitters, both forehands and backhands, and I've lost them in the past before where I tried to, well, I gotta take the ball out wide of the corners, and they go, thank you. I want to be able to play my shot out here from the corner, as opposed to, well, okay, let's just play it right up the middle. Let's see how they do right up the middle. And typically big hitters want to end the point on their own terms for whatever reason, right? Either maybe they don't move well, or maybe ego wise, that's what they like to do. And I'm going to go, okay, well, I'm just going to give you a steady diet of balls right at the middle, not linear. I'm going to, I'll slide the backhand low. I'll probably loop some forehands in there, but I'm going to have you try to go for the big winner, not from the corner, but from the middle of the court, back there in the baseline. And typically what happens is they just miss way more often. And so you've got to be able to answer this question. Who's doing what to whom? What do they want? Don't give it to them. What do they don't want? Give it to them. Sounds easy, but once you get good at it, it becomes a lot easier to figure out what to do. Number 3 is imprint and recall. And for me, what I used to think about when I would miss a shot is I would think to myself, okay, well, I'd sort of go in this quick analytical thing of, well, what did I do wrong? And it just never really seemed to make the next shot any better. And what I got actually from Dr. Zinsser was this imprint recall, which is when you hit a shot the way that you really, really intended to hit it. And it's typically what's the height over the top of the net. And its direction, of course, as well. But when the point's over, is I like to take a moment and just imprint that shot that I hit the way I totally intended. And I create a little MP4 video in my mind so that when it comes along the next time and I miss that shot, rather than going into the analytics of what I did wrong, all I do is just recall. I just bring up that video that I imprinted, whether it was 2 points a game or 2 points ago, or maybe it was a game ago, or maybe it was in the last set. But what I found is that I'm better off self-correcting by recalling that little visual. We talked about visualization, about a shot that I played that was really the one that I intended to play, as opposed to being analytical. And I just find that that I imprint it, put it in there. It's now on the hard drive, and all I have to do is bring it back up and just replay it in my mind. I mean, we see this on the tour a lot, where players before a point will try a couple of forehand and backhand rehearsals. And basically what they're trying to tell their brain is, when I get a forehand, this is the feeling. When I get a backhand, this is the feeling. And I think if we dwell too much on what we did wrong, is it just doesn't seem to clear that up for the next point, for the next time we have that shot, as much as the rehearsal swings and then the imprint and recall. Number 4, affirmation. So and we talked about this early on, is that, it's the chicken and egg thing. Well, geez, Brent, if you go out there and play a lot, you have to win matches to get confident. And I just went, well, God dang it, man. I mean, how am I going to win matches if I'm not confident? How's that work? And that never made sense. And so I just have found that confidence is first built off the court. Confidence is a self-messaging that we give ourselves off the court. And I've come up with like a 1-page affirmation that 18 months ago, I put this thing together, and I just started reading it to myself twice a day. And it was basically, and this kind of goes back to that the one guy who asked the first question about how do you go out there and play against, what are your tactics against someone who's clearly better than you are. I no longer tell myself this guy's better than I am. I now tell myself, whether it's true or not, because it doesn't matter if it's true or not, is that I always tell myself, you know what? I played really well today. I played really well. I had an instant shoulder prep turn. I kept my eyes and my head down through contact. My opponent today, without naming anybody, my opponent today has to deal with me. My opponent today has to adjust their game to me. And so for me, I just, maybe other players are different, but for me, I have to build confidence off the court first. And then when I go on the court and win a close match, that just gives me another underscore layer of a little bit more confidence. So to me, confidence is built in 2 ways. Number 1, it's off the court. And then when you go out and you play that, I was actually talking to a friend of mine today about really the first, really A+ guy that I played. I was about 25 years ago. This guy was clearly the number 1 player in the country, if not the world at the time, and clearly better than I was. And I just went into that match thinking, you know what? I don't have to raise my game today to win. I never thought about winning. I'm just going to go out here and see if I can extend the match time as long as possible. And when I did that, I had this weird sensation of his skill level, clearly better than mine. He started pulling me up. His skill level started pulling me up to his skill level. I ended up losing in 3 sets. I ended up losing 3 in the third, but it gave me this sense that I don't have to play above my skill level to be able to compete with the best guys. And so I think if you have an affirmation that you read, and I read it, like I said, with practicing the BPR, the between points routine, I read this thing at least twice a day. First thing I did, I read it first thing in the morning when I woke up, and I read it the last thing I did before I went to bed at night. It takes about maybe 5 minutes, 4, 5, 6 minutes to read this thing. Part of the course I've got is I've got a template, which, I just say, here's what I tell myself. There's a couple of things in there where there's, fill in the blank for whatever your goals are. But when I started this thing, I was telling myself, and I'm not saying that everyone needs to have winning a gold ball or winning or being ranked in the world as a goal. It could be anything. But my affirmation said that, and this is when I had 11 gold balls at the time. I said, and my affirmation was, I've now won 20 gold balls, and I'm ranked number 1 in the world in my age group. And so, all right, when I started reading this thing, was it true? No, it wasn't true. But I kept telling myself that every day, twice a day. And at the end of 2023, I'd won, let's see, 19. So I was 1 short. I've won 2 this year. So I've gone past it. But at the end of the year ranking, I was ranked 1 in the country in both singles and doubles of my age group, and ranked 1 in the world in doubles and 3 in singles. So, it's powerful. It's powerful. So if anyone's thinking that these affirmations are kind of hokey, and like when I first started this thing, reading the affirmations, the first couple of weeks, I thought, oh my God, this is just baloney. This stuff's not going to work. And then, I don't know, a couple of weeks into it, all of a sudden I was out in the court one day and I said, you know what? I think I feel a little different. And so I just said, well, maybe it's these affirmations. So let's just keep reading them. And then about a month into it, I was starting to win tournaments, and I'm going, I'm never stopping. I'm never stopping. So that thing is huge. And then the fifth thing is it sounds obvious and it sounds easy, but it's really not that easy in terms of to really believe in and trust delayed gratification. And in this day and age where we go on a YouTube and, something didn't work in the court today. Okay, well, I'm going to type in a search term for the thing that didn't work, and I'm going to get, 1,018 different results. Well, here's the tip. Here's the answer for that thing. And you go out and try it, and maybe it works for a little bit or a day, so or not. And then you come back and try something else. So delayed gratification to me is you've got to find the right information that you think is based on fundamentals and not just kind of quick fixes. And the guy I worked with who really sort of put me on the map way back in the early 80s, a guy named Tom Stowe, legendary coach from Northern California. Never forget, we were probably 6 weeks into it, and he kept feeding me the same easy forehand over and over and over. And this one day I just, stupidly said, well, Mr. Stozo, when do we get to the advanced stuff? And he looked at the gate, to the court. And I went, oh my God, what did I say? He just said, he said, Mr. Abel, when you master this, it's the advanced stuff. And I just kind of got it at that point that really the best players out there have just, I hate to use the word mastered because it sounds kind of hypey, but they're really good at executing the fundamentals over and over and over again. And so, and that's not a quick fix. That takes time. And so, did I believe in the concept of delayed gratification? I did, but I didn't trust it. And so at some point you have to have some blind faith. And part of my affirmations, I tell myself with my affirmations twice a day, I love and believe and trust in delayed gratification, that if I put in the right work and I do it on a regular enough basis, that it's inevitable. I can't stop that. I mean, it's like a freight train going downhill. Eventually you get the flywheel going and it's going to happen. You can't control exactly when it's going to show up, but if you keep going, whatever that thing is that you're working on is going to happen. The other thing too is I think it's really important that you surround yourself with players and coaches. I'm not saying all players because it doesn't always happen that way, but I like to get around players and coaches who have either played at the level that I want to get to. I'm here now, but I want to get up to here. So I want to hang out with players and coaches who either have played at that level or they're at that level right now. And the more I do that, the more I find that I just assimilate. I just see how they are between points. I see how they talk about the game. When I went to Tom Stowe, God, he talked about the game of tennis in such different terms than I'd ever heard before. And so those are the 5 things that I really habituated on a daily basis. And I think the hardest thing with number 5, delayed gratification, was in practice. I wanted this one thing so bad on a swing tech or something like this that I'd get over amped about it. I'd get over fired up about it, and it wouldn't happen. And I used to get just pissed. And now I just believe, you know what? you know what? If I just stick at it, I've seen it's going to happen. I just, so a lot of this stuff is blind faith. So look, here's what I've got for you guys. There's two ways you can get started. Number one, I've got a free, it's about a 20-minute video. And it really goes into much greater detail about the between points routine. Just go over to webtennis.com and just drop in a first name and an email address, and you'll get access to that free 20-minute video that really details the 4 parts of the between point routine. And again, remember, the whole reason we do this is so we create a narrow skill level range in our matches, so that we create that confidence that when we're going to play the next point, we're probably going to be playing at the very top of our skill level. And then if you guys want to dive into the entire course, it's webtennis.com/SLR 5 habits. I've got, the classic, there's some extra bonuses in there as well, besides the 5 habits, which we go into, at least which I go into in detail. It's a 28-day course, meaning you get 28, you get an email from me every day for 28 days. Mostly for 2 reasons. Mostly to keep you organized, to keep you on track in terms of what to work on today, what to work on tomorrow, what to expect tomorrow, but also that it's an accountability thing for what we just talked about with delayed gratification, that you don't start thinking these are all quick fixes. Anyway, so questions?
Thanks, Brent. Yeah, no, that was amazing. I should have told you beforehand, and we have 1 at 3, but this, no worries. This was great. We had some really good comments, as people are enjoying it a lot, and there was a strategy question I think we'll just handle at 4:30 with Mark. But no, Brent, I think I put the links in the chat, webtennis.com and webtennis.com SLR 5 habits. And yeah, Brent, I know we could talk all day. I wish we could keep going. I just got another stream to go to, but definitely highly encourage everybody check the links in the chat. And Brent, I just want to thank you a lot for this awesome presentation that you put together, and just the knowledge. And I'm sure we'll do a stream together at some point in the near future before next year. We don't have to wait that long, but
anytime I'm always available for you, Mirabana. Look, I know you got to go, but I just want to say, look, I really, really respect and appreciate all the hard work you put into the Tennis Summit. It's fantastic, and I hope you never stop doing it. So,
thank you. Same to you. Keep winning those gold balls, my friend.
All right, man. We'll do.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you in a minute in the next one.